Mm. Check. Hello, hello. Anybody out there gonna come and stream it? Who's calling off? Hey, thanks for tuning in, guys. Um, sorry, I overslept. I thought it was about 2 hours earlier than it was. Forgot about the Stuart reading today. Just wait for a few more bodies to get into the room here. So, if you guys remember from yesterday, Stuart, he was an unusual child born to the Little family. He was a mouse. He um ended up being able to do some things that other people couldn't in the family. Like he went down the drain pipe to find Mrs. Little's ring. Um, Succeeded at that, came back a little slimy, but then he got some perfume on him at the end to make him smell better, feel himself again. All right, so we'll just wing it. We got chapter 2 here. You could check out on chapter 1 if you missed it. Chapter 2, home problems. Stuart was also helpful when it came to ping pong. The Littles liked ping pong, but the balls had a way of rolling under chairs, sofas, and radiators, and this meant that the players were forever stooping down and reaching under things. Stuart soon learned to chase balls, and it was a great sight to see him come out under a hot radiator, pushing a ping pong ball with all his might, the perspiration rolling down his cheeks. The ball, of course, was almost as high as he was, and he had to throw the whole weight against it in order to keep it rolling. The Littles had a grand piano in their living room, which was all right except that one of the keys was a sticky key and didn't work properly. Miss Little, but let's look at this picture here. This is him pushing the ping pong ball with all his might. Look at that. Look at Stuart go. Okay, so the Littles had a grand piano in the living room, which was all right, except that one of the keys was a sticky key and didn't work properly. Mrs. Little said she thought it must be the damp weather, but I don't see how it could be the damp weather, for the key had been sticking for about 4 years, during which there might have been many bright, clear days. But anyway, the key stuck, and it was a great inconvenience to anyone trying to play the piano. It bothered George particularly when he was playing the scarf dance, which was rather lively. Wonder how that scarf dance sounds. It was George who had the idea of stationing Stuart inside the piano to push the key up the second it was played. This was no easy job for Stuart, as he had to crouch down between the felt hammers so he wouldn't get hit on the head. Here's an image of Stuart basically resetting this key inside of the piano every time it gets stuck mid-piano solo. But Stuart liked the job just the same. It was exciting inside the piano, dodging about, and the noise was quite terrific. Sometimes after a long session, he would emerge quite deaf, as though he had just stepped out of an airplane after a long journey, and it would be some time before he really felt normal again. Mr. and Mrs. Little often discussed Stuart quietly between themselves when he wasn't around, for they never quite recovered from the shock and surprise of having a mouse in the family. He was so very tiny, and he presented so many problems to his parents. Mr. Little said that, for one thing, there must be no references to mice in their conversation. He made Miss Little tear from the nursery songbook the page about the 3 blind mice, see how they run. Here's Stuart emerging from the piano after a long session. I don't want Stuart to get a lot of notions in his head. said Mr. Little. This should feel bad. This should feel badly to have my son grow up fearing that a farmer's wife was going to cut off his tail with a carving knife. It is such things that make children go with children with bad dreams. It what make children dream bad dreams when they go to bed at night. Yes, replied Miss Little. I think we had better start thinking about the poem. 'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house, not even a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. I think it might embarrass Stuart to hear mice mentioned in such a belittling matter. That's right, said her husband. But what shall we say when we come to that line in the poem? We'll have to say something. We can't just say 'twas the night before Christmas when all through the house not a creature was stirring. That doesn't sound complete. It needs a word to rhyme with the house. What about louse? Asked Miss Little. Or grouse, said Mr. Little. I suggest souse, remarked George, who had been listening to the conversation from across the room. It was decided that louse was the best substitute for mouse, and so when Christmas time came around, Miss Little carefully rubbed out the word mouse from the poem and wrote in the word louse, and Stuart always thought that the poem went this way. 'Twas the night before Christmas when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a louse. The thing that worried Mr. Little the most was the mouse hole in the pantry. This hole had been made by some mice in the days before the Littles came to live in the house, and nothing had been done about stopping it up. Mr. Little was not at all sure that he understood Stuart's real feeling about a mouse hole. He didn't know where the hole led to, and it made him uneasy to think that Stuart might some day feel desire to venture into it. After all, he does look a good deal like a mouse, said Mr. Little to his wife, and I've never seen a mouse yet that didn't like to go into a hole. That's the mouse hole there. That's it. That was chapter 2. So, you guys have any thoughts? I thought that him changing the poem for Stuart was pretty funny. Thanks for tuning in, all guys, all 10 of you. Maybe we'll do this tomorrow morning again. I think that's the best time for me. Seems like we had more people in the afternoon, evening, but morning might just be better for me for now. But I'll let you know. I'm planning on that. So we'll come back tomorrow morning for chapter 3. Hope you guys don't spoil it for yourselves. All right. Bye bye.